If you're a US citizen or somebody in a limited place for financial markets, you may be asking, how do I trade gold on a regulated and safe brokerage? Here is your answer. I'm going to show you how you, as a US citizen specifically, because that's my experience, how you can trade gold. Now, what you'll notice is that a lot of the brokers that you may be using, like for example, some of the US regulated Forex brokers are OANDA, IG, and Forex.com. There's not that many regulated US Forex brokers. Most brokerages in the United States focus on the stock market, but past that, let's talk about how we can trade gold. So if you've ever, as a US citizen, loaded into OANDA or Forex.com, you'll notice that you can't really trade gold on most of those US regulated brokers. You can't type in XAU USD and trade it on your MetaTrader or on your TradingView that's integrated with that. So how can you trade gold, and why can't you on the standard Forex brokerages here in the United States? Well, the answer comes down to the law, regulation, the SEC, and that sort of thing. In the United States, we are limited on what we can do with leverage and certain assets that we can trade and cannot trade. There's limitations specifically on trading gold with leverage here in the United States that we as US citizens are just limited to. It's just the country that we live in. There's some pretty tight regulations on financial markets. So when you go into, again, a OANDA account, if you're a US citizen, you're not gonna find XAU USD with the ability to trade it on leverage or margin or whatever. Now, how can you do it then? Well, a couple things that people will often do. There's really three main options that you can do to trade the gold market, if that's something that you really are passionate about doing. If you really want to trade the gold market, there's a couple things that you can do. The first, I would say, is the highest risk way of doing this, which is, of course, going the offshore brokerage, okay? And here is a major red flag. Let me tell you right now that this is the highest risk option to trading gold. Because if you go offshore, what that means is you're trading with a brokerage that gives you, for example, like 500 to 1 leverage. You may have heard all the things. They let you trade, 100 million different assets. They'll let you trade gold, Bitcoin, any cryptos you want, indices, etc., and they'll give you a ton of leverage. You have to be very careful with this, because the reason that these offshore brokerages can do this is they're actually going around US regulation. They're offering you something that the US itself says you can't do. So is it illegal? Well, it's sort of not really my territory to give you legal advice by any means whatsoever, but here's what I will say instead. This is your choice. If you do something with offshore brokers, that's on you. That's between you and your wife, or if you have a wife, whatever, right? The point is, that's something that you can do with your own decisions. And when it comes to using an offshore broker, please know the major risks that come with it. If you guys are interested in joining our free Discord channel, we're sharing trading tips, setups for the week, and so much more in the form of Discord daily posts. If that's something that would be helpful to you, then make sure to click that link down below in the description and join the Discord. See you inside. When you trade with a US regulated broker, or whether you're trading stocks, futures, Forex, if you're trading with a regulated broker, that broker is not going to be able to pack up shop and run away with all of your money. But when you trade with an offshore broker, you need to understand that if you look in the terms and agreements of the brokerage that you're using that's offshore, they, in the fine print, will clarify that they can pack up shop, liquidate your assets, and not give you your money back. In fact, it's happened in the past, and it will likely happen again. So be very careful if you are going to make a decision to trade with offshore brokers. Now, I'm not here to name names or specific offshore brokers that I think are terrible or good or whatever, but please just know that if you are a US citizen, my personal opinion is I do not put large amounts of money in offshore brokerages. I don't think that that's a wise decision to do, because think about this. Let's say that you put 100 grand into an offshore brokerage and you say, I want to trade XAU USD. They offer me this high leverage, but then that brokerage decides to, shut down and they decide to go out of business, and they just go ghost mode on you and they don't respond to you. You're not in the US. There's no protection to your money. And that to me is a major, major red flag and not something I'm willing to do. So do I trade with offshore brokerages? I actually do have some small accounts where I will trade things mostly for fun and for tracking purposes with some strategies that I'm running. I will trade with some offshore brokerages. I use Hugo's Way. I've used them for a long time and haven't had any issues, but regardless, I'm still not piling a ton of money into Hugo's Way. I do not do a primary amount of trading on my Hugo's Way accounts. I use them mostly for tracking my personal trading. So that's my personal take on it. Offshore brokers are an option, but they are a risky option, and you will not catch me putting large amounts of money because I want my money to be safe. So the next two options that I'm going to talk about are indeed safe, but they're going to have limitations. So if you want to trade gold, again, I'm giving you your option number two. Option number two is to trade it how I trade gold in the indices, which is on the stock market. Okay, so the stock market here in the US actually has ways for you to trade gold and the indices. And here's how. If you trade the S&P 500, or if you would like to trade the S&P 500 on the US indices, you can trade assets like SPY. If you go into your stock market account, let me show you this real quick. What we're looking at is the spider. And if you type this in on your stock market account, you'll be able to trade this. It is just a straight up version of the S&P 500. It is not going to be leveraged unless you trade options or something like that. And so I can do that. If I want to trade gold, I can trade GLD, right? And this is basically the same asset movements as if you were to trade XAU USD. You'll notice that this looks much the same. So when I trade the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, if I want to trade gold, I place trades on the stock market. In fact, I'll show you my actual account here. This is where I'm placing trades, positions that I have open. You can see if I'm in an S&P trade right now. If I want to trade gold, I just started dipping my feet into a gold position, right? So I bought that today. So I'm able to actually buy and sell gold and the S&P 500, etc., on a safe, regulated US SEC-backed trading portfolio. And so again, I can put as much money as I want in here and know that my money is not going to just get liquidated unprotected by some offshore broker that can just shut down at any given time. This is Future Nick, just letting you know that if you are a US citizen and you would like to trade with the broker that I personally recommend, which is Webull, it's an amazing platform. It has all sorts of cool features. You can trade directly on their platform. And of course, you can trade a whole list of different assets, ETFs, markets like stocks. You can trade gold, the S&P, whatever you'd like to trade, and you can even dabble in options if that's something that you're interested in. Check out the link down below in the description. There will be an affiliate code to sign up with Webull. If you use that link, you're going to get some form of special certain stocks. You should get a couple free stocks with signing up if you use that link, and so will I. So it's a win-win to help the channel. And if you'd like to sign up with Webull, click the link down below. When you trade on a regulated broker, there is no question your withdrawals should be seamless. There should be no issues. If you trade on an unregulated or offshore broker, that's where you can get into trouble, and you can see them say like, oh, they can dodge your withdrawal requests, and absolutely not a question. I will never deal with that. That is not going to happen with my money, right? If I'm requesting to pull my money out of a bank account or an asset like gold, if I want to sell it and I want to pull out my money of the stock market, I'm going to be able to do that every time without question on a SEC regulated US entity. Now, if you're in the UK or somewhere else, just look for your regulation regardless. If you're watching this video and you're like in a place where you have limited options for trading certain assets, just look into your personal country and what options you have. The third and final option is something that I personally don't do. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I just don't trade the futures market. You can trade futures for the E-mini. E-minis, you could trade gold, you can trade oil, all sorts of things on the futures market. And this is also an option to people who want to trade gold and the S&P 500 here in the US. This is also an option. Now, you may be asking, why can't we trade on the Forex specific brokers here in the US gold? And again, it just goes back to basically the regulation that we have, the requirements, margin requirements, things like that have been set in stone here in the US. Their aims are basically to protect US citizens after the 2008 crisis, financial crisis. There were a lot of people who were losing a lot of money, and the US government really cracked down on margin requirements, regulation got way tighter. tighter and that sort of thing. That's not for me to speculate. My goal in this video is just to share with you tips on how you can trade gold if you are a US client. Again, I trade it on regulated places with real amounts of money, so I don't mess around with the offshore broker stuff. That is up to you should you decide to do it. And if you're on a small account, and you're willing to accept the risks of offshore brokerages, that's for you to make with your own personal finance decisions. But for me, I avoid trading any serious amounts of money on the offshore brokerages, and I focus on putting my money, if I want to trade the stock and futures, stock market, gold market, etc. I trade it specifically on the gold market where I can trade ETFs in a regulated atmosphere. Of course, I sacrifice some of the margin or some of the leverage options that some of the offshore Forex brokers offer you, but for me, that's something I'm willing to do, meaning that my money is actually truly safe in a US regulated entity. So there you go, guys. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time. Looks like it's time for your next trading video. Check out the videos here and here for more free trading content that should help you in your trading journey. We try and keep it real here, so make sure to subscribe for more content that is down to earth, realistic Forex trading content. See you in the next video.